Hello everyone, so I want to do a video about all the books that I read in July and August. I had to combine the 2 months because I didn't read too many books in July, and I read a lot more in August. So that's why I didn't do a video for July. So I'm going to do these in order that I read them. The first book I read was This Book is Full of Spiders by Jason Paragon. This is the sequel to John Dies at the End, and this book was just bonkers. Oh, the bookmark just fell out. And I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to read the next two books in the series. It's just a wild, crazy sci-fi, horror, comedy, zombie apocalypse novel, and I really enjoyed it, and I got my husband to start reading the series as well. So, yeah, if you like really well-written, very well-developed, absolutely amazing books about zombie apocalypses, this one's great. So I highly recommend this one. The next book I read was The Real North Korea: Life and Politics in the Failed Stalinist Utopia. I really enjoyed most of this book. I guess the first three-fourths was absolutely fascinating. It was kind of an in-depth analysis of what's going on in North Korea. The ending of the book wasn't as appealing to me, since the book has been written. Let me see, when did this book come out? The book came out in 2013, so it's been a while. This book is a little outdated. And during the last quarter of the book, the author basically just did a lot of predictions, a lot of speculations about what he was expecting to happen in North Korea. And that wasn't as interesting to me as the actual history of what is happening in North Korea. So that was the only problem I had with this book. I'm still going to hold on to it. I still want to reread it because I do love reading about North Korea. It is a fascinating place. The next book I finished was The Magicians, and I actually read the entire series during the months of July and August. I read The Magicians, The Magician's King, and The Magician's Land, and I loved this series so much. I did read The Magicians, I think it was last year. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And then on my second reading of this book, I absolutely loved it. And I just blew all the way through all three books. It was amazing. I love the story. I love the characters. It is just a wonderful book about a wonderful series about mental health, magic. It's so deep and profound that it goes way beyond any fantasy. And I just loved it. I connected with all the characters, and I thought this was just an absolutely brilliant literary achievement. So I highly recommend the Magician's trilogy. I also reread Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I also read this book last year, and I did not like it at all. In fact, I think I gave it 2 stars. And there's been a lot of hype about this book, and so I decided to reread it, give it another shot, and I definitely liked it more the second time. It's not my favorite book in the world, but I did appreciate it and I did enjoy it a lot more. And I think I will read it again. So I think this is one of those type of books that you really need to slow down and kind of focus on all the little nuances, all the foreshadowing. There's a lot of really great stuff in this book. So I'm glad I didn't give up on it. I also read The Psychology of Money. And honestly, I don't remember anything about it. I guess when did I finish this book? July? August? I don't remember anything about this book. I think it was good. I think I enjoyed it. It was just a lot of the usual, don't spend money, save your money. Oh wow. I don't remember. I think this was good. That's a really good question whether I need to keep this or not. Yeah, I think it was good. I didn't hate it. I probably gave it a good rating. This book completely blew me away. This is James by Percival Everett. This is up for the Booker Prize this year, and I really think that this book should win. Well, it's the only book I've read that's been shortlisted so far. I'm excited to see what's on the long list. I think the long list is coming out this month. So this book was amazing, absolutely brilliant. This is a retelling of Huckleberry Finn from the perspective of Jim. And this book was very clever and very emotional and shocking. And there's a twist that's very exciting. So I highly recommend this book. This book is amazing. I'm rereading Huckleberry Finn right now, which is also an amazing book. So I think the two of these books together is kind of wonderful literary experience. I also finished White Noise by Don DeLillo. This is my first Don DeLillo book. And it was very interesting. Very, very interesting. It took me a while to get through it because this is not an easy read. It follows a family. It has so many themes, so many interesting themes that I don't think are explored in other books. Themes of fear of death, themes of, I guess, how can I explain it? Odd academic subjects. For example, the protagonist in the story, the husband, he's head of the Hitler Studies department at his college, and there's a lot of these weird subjects that, like, his wife teaches posture. So it's these weird academic subjects that everyone is really obsessed with, and then of course there's this overwhelming fear of death in this family, and there's a pathogen in the air that they're all afraid is going to kill them, and then there's this drug addiction, kind of an interesting medical commentary. There's just so much in this book it's very odd. It really focuses on themes that are just very unique, and I think it's definitely worth a read. The writing is very interesting. I'm looking forward to reading more by this author. This is an interesting. I keep saying interesting. This is I'm glad I came across this author in this novel. So that's White Noise. Here's another Magician book, Magician King. I have to say the first one in the series really just blew me away. The book 1 is just phenomenal. Book 2 is they're all beautiful, but book 1 really was the best, I think. Okay, so Proof is a play that I read. This one was very interesting. I really enjoyed this. I had to play the sister in my acting class this last month, so I got a copy of the full play and read it because I really wanted to understand the sister character. It wasn't the most interesting character of the 4 characters in this play, but I'm glad I read it. It's about a woman who comes up with this brilliant, groundbreaking mathematical achievement after the death of her father, and there's questions about whether she's the one who authored it or whether it was actually her father's. So it was really interesting. I like this play. It won the Pulitzer Prize. It was I found a YouTube video of this play and I watched it, and it was very moving, very emotional, which helped me perform it in my class. I read I Remember Nothing by Nora Ephron, and I really disliked this book. I grabbed this book because I saw that her other book, I Feel Bad About My Neck, made the best books of the 21st century from New York Times list, and I found this at a thrift store a couple days later, so I picked it up, and I just did not like this book. This book was... I guess I just didn't like her as a person. I didn't connect with any of her reflections and her commentary. This was just kind of a weird experience for me. I don't know. I hope that I Feel Bad About My Neck is better. I still plan to read that, but this book is probably going to be on hold. I reread The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Every time I read this book, it is a masterpiece. I love it. It's just an incredible book. Very, very funny, very clever, amazing characters. I just can't get enough of this book. I will continue reading and rereading this book probably for the rest of my life. And then finally, the last book in the Magicians trilogy, The Magician's Land, also incredible. I reread Good Omens. This is my second time reading this book. This book was great. I loved it very, very much. It was very cute, very, very funny. I read it the first time a couple years ago. Then I watched the show, seasons 1. I watched season 2 last year, and I loved season 2 even more than season 1. It was very different. And then I just reread this book now, preparing myself for season 3. Absolutely incredible. I love this collaboration between Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, 2 authors that I adore individually. And then them coming together, it's really great trying to figure out who's writing what, which character is more like which author. But this is quite the masterpiece. Very, very cute. And then I finally read this book. This book took me forever to get through. This is Good Inside, A Guide to Becoming the Parent You Want to Be. This is a very good parenting book. My problem with it is my kids are older. They are preteens, and most of this book just did not apply to them. There are several sections in this book that did apply, and they applied beautifully, and they were definitely worth reading. It was just hard getting through the sections that didn't apply to them at all. It kind of presented itself as a book for all kids, but then so much of it was focused on babies and like toddlers, maybe not babies, like little really tiny kids. So that was kind of a slog to get through those sections that I just didn't see any value in at all for me anymore. But the parts that did apply were very useful. My daughter definitely has trouble with emotional regulation, and there were some really great chapters dealing with that. And I think a lot of the book just confirmed that I am on the right track in my parenting, and here's a few things to help. I'm not sure if I need to keep this book. I might just reread some of the sections that I tabbed and maybe take some notes. I don't know if the whole book is maybe not important for me to keep, so we'll just be taking up space. So I got to make a decision on that one. I finished Nickeled and Dimed. This is my second read through this book. The first time I read it in, I want to say college or high school, and this book is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love this book. I could not put this one down. I saw a lot of very negative reviews on this book, and I don't understand. I thought this book was brilliant. It's just so, I mean, what she brings awareness to. I don't know, there's been more books on this subject recently, but at the time it came out, I don't think people were aware of some of the issues. I think this book was absolutely groundbreaking in the way she presented these people's stories and this type of low-income lifestyle that the struggles that these people go through, and various, issues that keep them where they are, in terms of mobility and, childcare issues. I love this book. This book is amazingly written, and it's just fascinating. I could not put this one down. This book definitely deserves to be one of the top 25 books of the 21st century. Then I finally read this book, Inheritance. This was, it was kind of hard for me to get into this book. This is a memoir of a woman who finds out that she is not actually related to her father. And she's trying to get to the bottom of why she's not related to her father. And my biggest problem with this book was why is it such a big deal? I just couldn't understand. Like, if I found out that one of my parents wasn't my real parent, I don't think I would care. I mean, I would care, but not as much as this woman does. She just was so depressed and upset by this. I mean, your parent is the person who raised you. That's the most important thing. And it took her this entire book to come to that realization, which was odd for me. I just couldn't connect to that. But the book itself was fascinating. I really enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. I really enjoyed her discussion of her upbringing as I think she's a Hasidic Jew. Is that what it is? She's a very religious, she grew up in a very religious family, which was interesting, and I really enjoyed discussions of genealogy and also in vitro fertilization, sperm donations during the 1960s. That was all very fascinating to me, and I also liked the way it was written. I think she's a very good writer, and I definitely connected with her writing, and I did actually enjoy this book very, very much once I got into it. Once I got past her just not being able to understand why she cared so much about her paternity, especially as I think she was 54 when she wrote this, or when she found out the genetic discrepancy. So yeah, I did really like this book. So I would definitely read this again. This book was full of fun, interesting information, and it was beautiful. There's also a couple other books I read this year that I don't have copies of. This last month, that I don't have copies with, and one of them was Women in Power. I think that one made one of the lists. I think it might have been on the Guardian's list. And that book was really good. It was very depressing and short, but it was good. And then the other book I read was I Love Russia, which I just finished yesterday. So I guess that's more September. I guess we're in September now. So I finished that book last night, and I guess it's not really counting for this list, but that book was amazing. I tried buying a copy of that book several times, and I kept getting vandalized copies that were either cut or the cover would be crumpled up and destroyed. So I ended up returning both copies, and unfortunately had to read the audiobook or listen to the audiobook, which was a bit odd. I think I would have liked reading the actual physical book. It was an amazing book by a journalist who, it was a series of journalist articles from Novaya Gazeta, which is the newspaper in Russia that was shut down. And it's just her series of articles criticizing Russia and talking about Ukraine and various indigenous populations, pollution, prostitution, lots of really crazy subjects that you wouldn't even think about. Mental health, or not mental health, but insane asylums in Russia, insane asylums for children, the various abuses, and Crimea, and also just the conversations with her mother and the propaganda. And I thought that book was absolutely amazing. I really would like to get my hands on a copy of it and reread it because the narration is a little odd. I want to see if reading the book is a better experience. But anyway, so those are the books that I read in July and August. Thank you for watching.